everybody, thank you for joining me today again here at Re-Ritten Vintage Homestead. And I have with me a helper today. This is my granddaughter. We will call her Pickles. And I'm going to teach Pickles today how to make fried green tomatoes. I made a big error in the last several weeks in that I had trimmed my tomatoes back and they looked, they started just really getting big and looking fabulous. And I went on vacation for about a week, and the whole time I was gone, it was humid, it was hot, it rained. And when we got back, the tomato cages were all on their sides and the tomatoes were everywhere. So I've had to restack those up. And because of that, I have a lot of green tomatoes. And so I'm trying to find ways to use them. And this is a really good recipe. So I always follow the Fanny Flagg's. If you remember that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, was always one of my favorites. And she has two really good recipes in there. I prefer the one that has buttermilk. And that's what we're going to work on today. So I'm going to take you down here just a little bit, and Kendall's going to follow with me. There we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the top. There we go. And we're going to cut off the end. There you go. All right, and then we're going to try to make, they don't have to be paper thin, but we want them to be thin because the thicker that they are, the longer they take to cook. And we're going to be real careful with our fingers. There, very good. And these are great with eggs and bacon in the morning or as a side dish. How you doing over there?
I'm doing good.
Okay. All right. It's okay if you get little half pieces like this. They'll still be good. Did you get yours cut? Do you need help?
Nope. It's okay.
There you go.
I guess.
Well, I think we can split it. There you go.
Yay, we did it.
Okay, once you get that done, we have 1 cup of flour. We're going to mix that with a 1/3 cup of cornmeal. So I'm going to let Kendall pour that in there. And then a 1/2 tablespoon of salt. And then you're just going to stir it up until it's mixed well. There you go. And then to that, we're going to add 1 beaten egg. So I'll let you beat that, Kendall. Reach over here and get that fork. And then we're going to add to that 1 cup of buttermilk. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, you can take 1 tablespoon of vinegar and mix that with 1 cup of milk. And let it sit for about a half an hour. And that'll sour the milk. And you'll have buttermilk. So we're just going to stir that up a little. All right. And now I'm going to get my grease ready, and we'll be right back. So we have our grease nice and hot. This morning we had bacon, so we have leftover bacon grease. But if you don't forget to save your bacon grease when you're making breakfast and put it in a little crock, a little jar or something in the fridge, and it keeps a very long time, and you can use that for all kinds of recipes. You want your grease to be hot enough that it fries, kind of like a pancake, but not so hot that it's going to burn and scorch. And typically I find, just like with my pancakes, the first one that I do is a little too much, so I turn my heat down, and then I get it the way I like it. So I'm going to take you back down here. And Kendall, what we're going to do is I'm going to put the first one in. I'm going to let you do the rest. But I'm going to take a tomato and I'm going to dip it in our milk and our buttermilk mixture. I suppose you can hear Farmer Brown out there mowing. And then I'm gonna get it nice and covered here and softly lay it into the grease. Kendall, you want to add maybe 3 or 4 more of those?
Yeah.
And I instructed her in the beginning to make sure that she stands back from the grease so she doesn't get popped. There you go. Very nice. Very good. And you're going to lay it in there very softly so you don't get popped. Very good. Okay, we can use a couple more. And we're going to do just like a pancake. We're going to take our spatula and we're going to lift up the sides and see if it's brown, and then we'll know if it's done. So while she's doing this, I'm going to check the one that I put in. Okay, it's not quite ready. And you want to try to only, let's add a couple more. Maybe one more right there, okay? You want to make sure you don't flip them too many times because that'll knock off the flour coating that you added. They're already smelling delicious. Yeah, that's fine. It's going to be messy. Okay, you want to rinse your fingers off? All right, so we've got them frying over there. And we're just going to lift it up a little, see if it's getting brown. That one's getting nice. You can also see on the corners here, they're starting to brown. Very nice. You want them kind of crunchy. Also, too, you don't want a whole lot of grease. You want just enough, maybe like this much, to fry in, because if you add too much, it makes your tomatoes soggy. We want them nice and crisp. So they smell good. They're coming along. This one might be ready to flip. I'll let you get these two, okay? Okay. And we're just going to let those get nice and brown for a minute. Kendall, I don't think that one's ready. It's not quite brown. Nope. So just let them sit for a minute. And we'll be back as soon as we're done and we'll show you what they look like. So we got our tomatoes done and we sprinkled them with bacon. And Kendall's never had one before, so we're going to give it a try. What do you think?
They're good.
They're good, isn't it? They're nice and crispy. They're sweet. They taste like a fritter.
Oh, good.
It's the inside. Now this one here, Little Pickles, she's a lot like her grandma in that she loves history. And she loves American history. She loves all kinds of history. They make these books and they're called what, Kendall?
They're called Who Was books.
Who Was. And she's read how many?
Around 80. And I have like 12 that I need to read.
She's read 80 of them. And she memorizes them, which I think is fantastic. Whoever thought of these books? It's just amazing. She's been studying up. She wants to go to Virginia. She's been talking to her papa about taking her to Virginia. She's been studying up on Thomas Jefferson. And so she's going to tell us just a little bit about him while we eat our tomatoes. So tell us a couple fun facts about Thomas Jefferson that maybe we didn't already know.
Okay.
Nice and slow. Okay.
So Thomas Jefferson, like me, is a foodie. Well, he was a foodie.
Now, let me ask you a question. What's a foodie?
Someone who likes to eat a lot of food and stuff.
Do they like to experiment with food?
They like to try new foods and experiment with new foods. And
Okay, so he liked to experiment and try new recipes and things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And some of his favorites were mac and cheese, ice cream, and
So ice cream had already been invented by then.
yeah, and he liked mac and cheese too.
Okay,
I can't remember the other one.
that's all right. What else do you know about him?
He likes to collect fossils,
Oh,
and he had the fossils. He liked the mammoth, but he also had fossils of the mastodon, which is kind of like a mammoth, but it's different. And people think that he had the largest personal book collection
oh,
because he liked to read and stuff.
as do you, as do I.
And he had this one place called the Monticello or Monticello or whatever, and he actually designed it by himself.
Oh, so he did architecture.
And he also designed the rotunda at the University of Virginia.
See, things about a famous person in history that makes them more personable that you didn't know before. That's why history is so important. In school, we're taught the facts. We're taught the dates. We're taught the timelines. We memorize a lot of things like that. You want to learn about the person and the times, what people were thinking, what were their traditions, what were their foods, things like that. And then you can actually learn history, living history. And so I just love these books, and I love that Kendall likes history just like I do. And so we're going to come back shortly, and we're going to make another video for you. We're going to make some green tomato cake because I have several more tomatoes left over I need to use. So we'll see you shortly. And she's chowing on the tomatoes, so it must be pretty good. The next recipe we're going to make with our leftover green tomatoes is called green tomato cake. And I know that doesn't sound very appetizing, but you have to remember, just like zucchini cake, it's the moisture of the green tomatoes that bakes down within the flour and the sugar, and then it makes a nice moist cake. You really don't even taste the tomatoes. So we're going to give it a go, okay? And I'm going to move you down here and walk Kendall through this for you. So we're going to take 2 1/4 cups of sugar and 1 cup of shortening, or you can use Crisco melted down, and we're going to pour that in next. And then we're going to add to that the eggs. And there's 3 eggs there. And then we're going to add vanilla, and we're going to use 2 teaspoons of vanilla. This is a teaspoon. We're going to add 2 teaspoons. You want to pour over your bowl.
That's why you
1. Okay. So what we did is to 2 1/4 cups of sugar, we added 1 cup of vegetable oil, or you can take melted Crisco, and then you're going to add 3 large eggs and 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and then we're going to beat that until it's nice and creamy. I'm going to have Kendall go over to the back table and do that so we don't break everyone's ears, and we'll be right back. Pickle's finished making the wet ingredients, and you can see it's a pretty yellow color, very sweet, very smooth, and we're going to mix that with 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, okay, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. So it's really like a coffee cake. There you go. 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Okay, and if you want to, we're going to go ahead and mix that up first with our fork until it's all nice and mixed together. You're going to blend it well. Okay, and to that, I'm going to have Kendall slowly add in some of our mixture here as I stir. There we go. Okay, pour a little at a time in there, of this in there, of the wet into the dry. Yeah, great. A little at a time. Good. Okay. A little more. There we go. So it's nice to have a helper every now and then when you need an extra set of hands. Okay. Just pouring it in a little at a time. Make sure you scrape around the outer edges too. It's starting to become doughy. So we got that all mixed up, and it is very thick. So if you have a food processor, you might want to use that instead of a mixer. Or if you're country, you might want to use your hands. But it's like a really, really thick cookie dough. And it's really good. It tastes, to me, it tastes like snickerdoodles almost. So to this, we're going to add 2.5 cups of green tomatoes, diced up. And you can add, this is optional, but I'm going to add 1/2 cup of chocolate chips and 1/2 cup of walnuts. You can add raisins, you can add coconut, whatever you would like. And Kendall's going to work on stirring that up. And the green tomatoes will make it a little less hard to work with because it's going to add more liquid. So I wanted to show you guys how it mixes up after you add the tomatoes. The tomatoes are what adds the liquid to your mix and makes it moister. So I would recommend, if you do have a food processor, mixer that you can use, which I've told you in a lot of my videos, I just have the basics. So I use my spatula, my mixer, my old mixer, and my fingers. Okay, so it would make it easier if you would do that. Now I'm going to pour it in my prepared and floured 9x13 pan, greased and floured. I've already got my oven preheated to 400. It really tastes good. We've been snacking on it. I think it tastes kind of like a snickerdoodle cookie. Kendall agrees. Okay, now I'm going to take that and I'm going to make it nice and pretty and smooth. And then when I get done, I'm going to put it in the oven for about 55 minutes. I'm going to take a knife and keep testing it and make sure that the knife doesn't have any type of moisture on it when I take it out, and that's how I'll know it's done. And we will show you the end product as soon as we take it out of the oven. I want to remind you guys that when you're baking with cupcakes or bars or cakes, don't put it from the pan to the oven right away. You want to let it sit for just a few minutes on the counter. You can shake it a little, tap it a little. That gets it all level. So you won't have this high over here and that low down there. And you're going to let all of the ingredients start working together here so that you'll have more of a rise to your cake. All right, we'll be back. So Pickles and I decided we would come outside and enjoy the sun with some lemonade and our green tomato cake here. I wanted to show you guys. I cut mine open a little bit so you could see. It's delicious. Kendall just took a bite of hers and she said it tastes like, what's it taste like?
The chocolate chip muffins that she makes. Or my aunt's.
Like a chocolate chip muffin. It would be really good in the morning, don't you think? Mm-hmm. With coffee. for breakfast, but it's also just a real nice dessert and a good way to use up your green tomatoes.
You don't even taste the tomato.
You don't even taste the tomatoes, do you? Mm-mm. You can see them, but you don't taste them. And really, the tomatoes just added moisture to the batter, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
So Pickles and I would like to thank you guys for joining us today. We have fun. Did you have fun?
Yes.
Learning new ways to use our green tomatoes so they don't go to waste. And we hope you guys have a great week, and you're going to come back and join us next time. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you like this video. Leave a comment and let us know what you think, what you would like to see. We're staying very busy around here this summer, and we hope you are too. Thanks for joining.